So hello everyone and welcome to a video unboxing of the Zavvi UK exclusive version of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City Steelbook Edition. This is turned up today and as you can see it's still within its protective casing. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a quick look as we undo it for the first time, see what the contents are, whether there's anything special inside, and just to give you everyone a bit of a flavour of what's going on here. So bear with. So taking off the actual packaging. Now I'm not one for steelbooks generally, but I thought it could be worth some money in the future. You never know, and I'm quite fond of the film, and I'll do a bit more of a review in due course. So here we go. Let's get a good look here. So we've got the nice steelbook artwork of the RPD and the umbrella logo. For anyone who's unaware, a lot of steelbooks, they come with this this packaging, this slip. It's not a sticker, it just kind of goes around. You can see you can kind of peel off. It's stuck on a bit of sellotape, and that goes all the way around. So if we turn on the back and have a look at the back, you can see here it carries on, so it's one big paper sleeve, if you like. So we've got this cool kind of zombie picture there. One of the best films in the entire Resident Evil franchise. Well, there we go. Shannon McGrew from Nightmarish Conjurings. Excellent review. Fun, frantic, and frightening in the best way. So it's Rosie Knight from Nerdist. Special features here: replicating the DNA, cops, corpses and chaos, zombies, lickers, and the horrors of Resident Evil. A bit low on the features. No, it doesn't look to be any audio commentary, which is a shame. I'd really like to do that. So interestingly then, we get to the spec details. Says what you need for an HDR. I was really looking forward to the HDR. Interestingly, on the video, it doesn't actually say it's got what type of HDR in terms of the active HDR, but if we scroll down here, you'll see that it does advertise that it's got Dolby Vision, although interestingly it doesn't say it here, but there we go. It does have a Dolby Atmos track, which is piggybacking on the Dolby True HD 7.1 audio settings. I'll be keen to test that out as well. I don't have a Dolby Vision enabled TV. Sadly, I already got an HDR 10 Plus, so I won't get the full effect. But I do have Dolby Atmos enabled speakers, so they're kind of upwards facing, so upwards firing package. So we're going to see what that looks like as well. So there we go. It all looks to be very much the muchness. But what we want to do now is carefully, and I'm going to try and do this carefully. You can't really. Oh, you can open it. Oh no. So if you open it, you're going to rip at the top. So if you look at the top, you'll see this is part of that kind of paper sleeve, and it says at the bottom as well there. So, oh god, it's quite difficult in one hand, but we'll have a go. Let's do it from the bottom. You can see that. So you don't want to reveals the artwork. It's nice. It's nice artwork. And then if I flip it like this, and there we go. So now we've got the full effect there. Let's flip it on the side. Is it the same? No. Oh, look at that. That's a nice surprise. Oh, beautiful. Wasn't expecting that. That's nice. There we go. Let's open up, see the goodness inside. Again, it's high, nice quality steel there. And what we've got, so we've got the 4K HDR. Again, no mention of the Dolby Vision, but that's okay, with the Lisa Trevor. And then underneath, we can take that out carefully. We have the 1080p Blu-ray on the eye that they've used with the umbrella logo. Very nice indeed. So there you have it. No cards. I know the Amazon version comes with a pack of cards, but I have to say that, let's have a look at it again. That back art, bit of a surprise. Let's pop it in the Blu-ray and let's see how it runs. So I've now had the opportunity to have a look at Welcome to Raccoon City in 4K UHD. Just as a kind of technical spec, I've watched this on a Panasonic EX750 television and through a 2017 surround sound Denon AVR with that 5.1.2 setup. No Dolby Vision, so the review is purely HDR10 from an audio point of view. I'd also say I'm not a professional reviewer in terms of calibration or anything like that, but so I can't tell you all the tech specs. So this is purely on my eyesight more than anything else, and how I felt the film looked and sounded. So welcome to Raccoon City. As with many Sony UHDs and 4K releases, is a brilliant disc. The transfer is impeccable. It was filmed in a mixture of 3.5 and 4.5K cameras, and then transferred down with a 4K transfer as well. And you can really show it. Even the last Resident Evil film, the last Resident Evil film, The Final Chapter, was considered to be a very good tech demo for audio, even if the film was a bit tripe. But again, I expected a lot from Sony from this release, even though the film itself didn't get a huge amount of coverage at the time, and I wasn't disappointed. This is a very good UHD if anyone ever wants to test it out. So let's start with the picture quality. So as mentioned, it's filmed in a mixture of 3.5 and 4.5K filming techniques, and then transferred accordingly. It's got a very distinct feel and vibe. The director, Johannes Roberts, was clearly inspired by Carpenter's films, Escape from New York, The Thing, that kind of thing. So it's very 90s, 80s aesthetic, and if you can see that and note that, you'll be on board a bit further with the way the film looks. But in terms of the picture quality, very high standard. The HDR, even in the static HDR of HDR10, is very impressive. The picture quality is clean, crisp, with some great highlights and lowlights in terms of the lighting effects. In particular, the mansion scene, which is one of my favourites generally, when Chris uses his lighter. On my TV, which has very good local dimming, it goes pitch black, which is really nice to see. I can only imagine what it's like on an actual LG OLED or something of that. It must be brilliant. And then when he flicks on the light, the kind of effects and the shadow effects that it gives are very impressive. And again, that's where I think my TV was a bit limited. It wasn't quite as punctuated that it would be, I think, on an OLED, but it's still very impressive. And again, I'd imagine it would be even more impressive in Dolby Vision as well. Sadly, I can't really review that. Other scenes also were impressive as well. The RPD generally, it looks impressive. It's got a slight haze to it as well, which is the distinction between the kind of CGI backdrop and the kind of practical effects that they have put in. But I think it worked quite well. And when the ever so famous flaming zombie kind of walks in, the lighting there is quite impressive, and again, it feels organic in that sense. It doesn't feel too digitalized, if you like, and I think that's tribute again to how much practical effects were used where possible in this film. And again, the laboratory tunnel scene from the mansion is really dark and creepy and brooding. And generally overall, I found it to be a really clean looking image, both in HDR 10 and probably Dolby Vision as well. Moving to the audio side of things, as I mentioned earlier, this is a True HD 7.1 soundtrack with an Atmos track kind of mixed on top of it, which is standard. I have a 5.1.2 setup in my home, so I was able to watch that with the upwards firing Atmos speakers. Since owning them, I have to be honest, they're not quite as good as you would hope in terms of Atmos speakers. I mean, they're not the true thing. If anyone ever buys them and expecting to suddenly have that complete encasing feel of Atmos, I think you're going to be a bit disappointed, and I'm not entirely convinced on the kind of bounce-off effect, off the ceiling effect that they're supposed to give. But I will say that generally just having another audio channel and just those discrete channels coming out of another speaker really does help with the kind of atmosphere. And this is a really good example of how Atmos can work. But it did make me wish that I had proper Atmos speakers, but alas, I can't have that in my home. Living in a mid-terrace, I think I would cause anarchy with the neighbours, but never mind. So even with that kind of technical limitation, the Atmos was really, really nice. I said at the time when we went to see the film that the audio was really loud and made for a nice pleasant change, and indeed on UHD the audio is very crisp and clear. You never worry about muffled sounds or anything like that. You can hear everything that they're saying both through the centre speakers with the audio and then the kind of surround sound. And I will say this, even on a traditional 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound setup, you're going to be impressed. You've got noises coming from all over the place, especially again, we go back to that mansion scene. You can hear the creeps and the cracks of zombies moaning, and that really does come from all around you, and that's very impressive. And again, some of it was coming out of the Atmos speakers as well, so it gave that impression of it being, slightly elevated, but it can't replicate the an actual in-ceiling built speaker. And again, the special effects, the sound effects were really impressive as well, with the gunshots and things like that, really loud and blasted through my speakers as well. Some good bass and a nice couple of rumbles throughout the film. The truck scene at the beginning's quite rumbly for your lower bass, and generally overall, even if you weren't a particular fan of the 90s soundtrack, Four Non-Blondes and Looking at You, you can't help but be impressed with the actual transfer of the UHD. Sony have done a sterling job with this, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it if you are an audio and visual person in terms of your Blu-ray and 4K collection. A really good job, and it kind of lines up with what they've done recently with Ghostbusters, and I suspect the upcoming Spider-Man film as well. It's going to be top tier UHD for all you collectors out there. The film itself, well, that's a different question. I wasn't really reviewing that. I would direct you to our recent podcast, episode 74, and I'll put a link in the description below, where me and the team reviewed the latest film. Generally, I still like it. I still think it's a perfectly solid entry, a nice reboot, and easily my favourite out of all the Resident Evil live-action films. So if that has whetted your appetite, then please check out the podcast, either on YouTube or all good podcast apps. But otherwise, absolutely worthwhile purchase in my opinion, both for the quality of the 4K and the audio, and for me as well. I thought it was worthy of an actual purchase as a film that sports the Resident Evil tag, so I would recommend it. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and also check us out on our website as well. Thanks, bye.